his style of leadership to me is a smash mouth leadership. But what people don't see behind the scenes, there's a lot of holistic stuff going on. And Dan was coached, and back in the early to mid 90s and late 80s, coaches were a lot more old school, obviously, than they are today. Different generation of kids. You have to coach them a different way. And people assume, again, who don't know Dan Hurley, haven't watched his practices. I've sat in on a lot of practices and just seen it. Now, behind closed doors, he'll be tough in practices and he'll be cursing kids out. But there's nobody in the gym. I mean, other than me, and nobody cares that I'm sitting there. But when it's in front of thousands upon thousands of people and a lot of viewers, if you notice during games, he does not individually berate players almost ever. I saw him do it one time. It was very quick to Stewart this year, who made an egregious defensive mistake against Butler. And I was sitting near the bench. I would have screamed at him. It was that egregious. And Dan had no choice. Now in the huddle, Mark, and you know this certainly as well as anyone, he'll challenge the group. And usually on camera, you'll see it's really a group criticism or a group challenge or yelling at the group, not really an individual player very often. But during the game, because he was yelled at Seton Hall and he knows how that feels, you'll see mistakes that are made by UConn players. And I'll look to Dan almost like expecting or even wanting him to challenge a kid, and he doesn't do it. 99% of the time, he gets like no credit for that.
Right.
And as I'm sure I know you played sports. I played some at a low level. When coaches were yelling at me, I didn't feel that helped. I thought it hurt me and hurt my confidence. And Dan is a cornerman on game night. He is really effectively a cheerleader. And I think most people who don't follow the UConn program closely just assume he's a madman and is screaming at players just as much as he's screaming at the refs. He screams at the adults, not the kids.